Greetings to all. I'm Sejat Chokya, and today I will deal with the topic the illusion of sense, deconstructing generative poetry through Richard's practical criticism. Here are my academic and as well as my presentation details, table of content which we are going to follow today in this presentation. The Bridging the Century, connecting the protocols of I.A. Richards from 1929 to the prompts of generative AI 2026. The psychological shift, transitioning from analyzing human inhibitions to analyzing machine algorithms as the source of literary data. Generative poetry acts as a technological version of Olipo constraints, where the machine operates within rigid syntactic templates, as argued by Kushina. The modernist parallel algorithm fragmentation and the randomness of contemporary of the 20th century crisis of faith and the search for order in a broken world. The core conflict is that does the absence of human author mean the end of poetic truth, or is the meaning now a co-production between the coder and the critic? My research question for this particular presentation is that to what extent can the interpretive framework of I.A. Richards' four kinds of meaning remain valid in the era of generative poetics, and how does the materiality of code, which is given by Glazier in his book, emphasize the 10 difficulties of literary judgment? Hypothesis would be that while generative poetry can successfully simulate sense and the tone through syntactic templates, it lacks inherent authorial intention. Consequently, readers tend to project human agency onto machine output because they are misled by the illusion of sense, a process that triggers stock responses, which is mentioned by Richards in his practical criticism, and causes them to rely on technical presuppositions regarding the visual and structural appearances of the text. Theoretical framework. The four kinds of meaning which given by Richard: sense, feeling, and tone and intention. Key barriers to judgment and text or a poetry. Stock responses, ready-made emotion reaction triggered by familiar words, the words which are stock into our mind, into our memory. Technical presuppositions, judging a poem by its trick, rhyme, meter, or digital interface. Mnemotic irrelevances, personal memories or strays associations projected onto the text. The emotive versus the scientific crisis. Generative poetry uses scientific logic, which is algorithm, to mimic emotive language to create a vacuum where the human intention used to be. A, an AI is generative, a poetry. We are connecting our own thoughts with it and find the connection between those words, which is generative. But when we connect our own responses, which are our collective memories, then it's become emotive. Digital materiality, code as the new canvas. Code as a substance. The digital medium is a substantive part of the partic act mentioned by Glazier in his book, not just as a container for words. The proper programmable signifier. Unlike the fixed page, the text is built from the unstable manipulative code, HTML, Python, or through JavaScript. Expressive processing, mentioned by Mersky and Metica in their work, in their critical work. Analysis must shift from the final product to the mechanical type, which is input, process, and output. Input, which is the raw data word which we give to AI as a prompt. The process, which AI use their algorithms and logical with the constraint, mathematical constraints, and the output, which comes as the transient text preserved by the reader. Critical shift, which suggests that the poem's truth is no longer in the lines, but in the mathematical process that generate them. Agency resign. The poet is now the system designer, moving the creative act from writing to programming. The displacement of agency, reader as author. Interaction in Twine. In interactive fiction like Twine, the author's fixed intention is displayed by the reader's choice, mentioned by Salter and Moulthrop. The new creator, the poet no longer detects a path. They design a possibility space where the reader performs the acts of authorship. As with the help of AI, we work collaboratively with the AI, and we follow the idea of human co-authorship with AI. The digital stream of consciousness, hypertext act as a literalization of modernist eternity turning the abstract fragmentation of Joyce or Wolf into a physical clickable network, as mentioned by the Salter and Moulthrop into their work Critic Conflict. If the reader chooses the sequence, does the meaning resides in the code or in the reader's mnemonic irrelevances? The work is no longer a finished product, but it become a performative process triggered by a human interaction with the AI chats or AI. Case study of Taroko Gorge and algorithmic nature. Here is the infographics which suggests this, which visualize the whole idea of case study with the Taroko Gorge. Analyzing Nick Montfort's 256 characters Python generated poem. Uh, this poem is critically analyzed by Hussein, and I have taken from it a shift in temporality. Unlike the fixed text studied by Richards, Toroko Goes never ends. It is a perpetual process rather than a final product. Whenever you visit that web page of Nick Montfort, you will always get the new words which are unstructured and not in the structured form. Whenever you visit that page of Toroko Gorge poem, you will always get the new generated words. The illusion of tone. The machine simulates a nature poet persona through simple permutational logic, mimic human feeling without processing it. The translation of logic. Metika and Meriki argues that to translate this poem, one must translate the underlying code, which is goes in the process, not just the vocabulary. Now the critical conflict come. If the poem sense is randomly generated, any intention found by the critic is a pneumatic irrelevances projected onto the screen. Now, what mechanical nature suggests here that the gorge is not a place, but a mathematical constraint that forces the reader to provide the emotion. Now, there is the another case study of illusion of sense. Here is the whole infographic which suggests this second case study which deals with the algorithm mimicry. Like bots like poemx use syntactic templates to simulate human tone and sense. The frequency strip that suggests that machine mimics poetic patterns, tricking the readers into perceiving a human feeling. The interface strip, by mistaking the materiality of a clean digital interface for authorial wisdom, reader commit a technical presupposition, which is also an error. The social media frontier and identity of remix. The digital identity crisis. Digital platform blur the line between human and machine creativity, challenging the traditional lone author myth. The democratization of muse. AI and generative tools act as a mechanical muse, shifting the focus from individual genius to collective remix culture. The feedback loop. Social media algorithms prioritize tone and feeling over complex sense, encouraging stock responses through like shares. The post-human poet identity is no longer a fixed point. It is a fluid process shaped by the interaction between the user and the interface in the and the code. The pedagogical impact. Digital poetics in the classroom. The new literacy success in the 2026 classrooms requires mastering both practical criticism and computational thinking. Institutional critique, planned obsessions, documenting process, recognizing that the code is the only surviving inference. The academy versus network, this traditional scholarship value, the fixed book, but digital poetry is a network process that resists archiving. Here is the infographic which suggests that idea. Both this infographic suggests the whole idea of this presentation. One is with this generated with the notebook LM, another with the another generated with the help of uh, Gemini. Now, conclusion. While machines successfully simulate sense and tone, they lack the inherent leave intention. The algorithm can calculate a poem, but it cannot intend a meaning, as argued by I.A. Richards in Practical Criticism for the particular text and poem. In generative poetics, the meaning is often a stock responses. Generative poem stock responses, which we can take the example of algorithm. The readers feels the intentional vacuum left by the algorithm with their own projection. We must transition from judging the product on the screen to analyzing the materiality of the process to understand digital authorship. Hypertext act as a literalization of modernist interiority, turning the abstract fragmentation of Joyce or Woolf into a physical clickable network of code. The role of the 2026 critic is to distinguish between mathematical probability and poetic truth, ensuring the technical presupposition of the screen do not replace the rigor of practical criticism. Here is the slide of acknowledgement, the references that I have used for this presentation. Now, if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Hello. My question is, if Nick wrote the code for Torco George, why can't we say the intention belongs to him even if the computer picks the specific words?
Okay, Nancy, thank you for your question. Uh, I would like to give one example from the field of engineers. Think it as a GPS navigation system. The engineers at Google are intended to build a tool that finds the fastest route, and it suggests that which on which exact time, if you turn on that particular road or on that particular street, you will reach that particular place on this or that time. So it is just like that. In same happened in Taroko Gorge. Montfort is an engineer. He built the map, the code, but the individual lines are like the GPS, giving you a random detour. And as Richards would say, the intention requires a specific human aim in the specific moment. When a machine picks a word because of mathematical constraint which is generated with the code or algorithm, it's just a calculating poem. We readers are once driving the car and giving the trip its meaning. If there any other question, please ask.
So, Sejad, if a readers feel a genuine emotional connection to an AI poem, does it really matter if it was randomly generated?
Okay, Dimple, thank you for your question. As Richards talk about stock responses of our memory, which work when we analyze any particular poem or read any particular poem or text. Those particular stock responses and words gave us that if those words are similar, we find more similarity and more connection with that particular text or poem. Think every day when we read a newspaper, horoscope came, and from last 6 years, the lucky color in my Rashi Kumbh is golden. And whenever I read, I laugh. So whenever we connect this idea, when we read horoscope, like if there is a written, the big changes will came into your life like this, and that this turn came into your life, you will get this well, you will meet new people, this will happen in your life, this will happen with your health. So such horoscope given in the newspaper, we find connection for our own self into that particular horoscope, though it is written for the vast amount of group, that it is not particular for Sejad whose Rashi is Kumbh. There are many other people with Sasha and Ga whose Rashi is Kumbh. So we find similarity when we connect our own self with those things. So this is from my side. Thank you so much.